Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Infamous Wrestling Ratings. I am the man of infamy, James Coelho, and I am here to bring you a new version of a rating system. I know that Meltzer does his, and The Torch did theirs, and I'm sure others do their grading, but I'm going to grade things on the infamy scale. I've watched a ton of wrestling in my 36 years on this planet, and I've seen a lot of good matches and a lot of bad matches, and I hope to just bring a different perspective of thinking about it, more of that newer school with some of the understanding of psychology and importance of sort of that old school feel. So hopefully this will be a regular thing that we can do after every major pay-per-view, both AEW and WWE. But for now, let's get right into it. Our first match on this show, and we're doing AEW Revolution, that aired on March 7th, 2021. The first match was the pre-show match, or the buy-in. It was Rio and Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker and Rebel, except we didn't get Rebel. We got a doctor's note. Ha, she's a doctor, get it? I got it. She's smart. No, but seriously, Rebel didn't wrestle. Instead, a fan favorite from the Eliminated tournament came out, Maki Ito. Oh, Maki Ito. Oh, your singing is bad. But we love you anyway. Because you know why? She's the god of love and piss. And that's what everybody needs. Look, this match was not that great. There was a lot of ugly stretches there. Definitely some miscommunication. Not sure any of these wrestlers had actually worked together in the past. There definitely was not a lot of cohesion. I think at the end of the match, you could see Rosa and Britt Baker really come together and start to try to put some of those pieces together and continue on their long-standing rivalry and really have a good match. But, besides the solid head spot from Maki Ito, and then Riho with her, I don't know what kind of punches those are, but they're not real because there's a doily on her arm. I don't know. Somehow Riho didn't get pinned in a near fall after the flying headbutt, and she incredibly made the tag to Thunder Rosa, who was trying to run by a Rebel interference, but just couldn't get by it, and then Rebel hits her with the crutch because she's so injured behind the referee's back, and she takes the pin to Baker, which I just half a star. I don't know. It was not good. They tried. I think that's what you say. Thankfully there's better matches on this card. So now we start the main card. We have the AEW Tag Championship on the line here. It's the Young Bucks versus Chris Jericho and MJF of the Inner Circle. And, who knows what's going to happen with the Inner Circle? You have them coming out. They look like a cohesive unit. They're all fired up. Everything's great. This was the official start of the pay-per-view, and they were trying to come out hot. The Bucks went right at Jericho and MJF, but then they started with, let's do stereo suicide dives, and let's lock in simultaneous sharpshooters, because that's a spot that's never been done before. The Bucks dominated a lot of the beginning of this match. Wardlow got involved, helped Jericho and MJF sort of get things back on their way. Jericho locked Nick Jackson in the Lion Tamer, and then Matt Jackson, coming in off of what was supposed to be a blind tag, also got knocked in the Lion Tamer. I think the goal there was to try to have Nick jump off the ropes and Jericho catch him, but Jericho's just not in that kind of shape, I don't think, anymore. You had a couple of near falls back and forth. Jericho snuck the bat in, got a shot. MJF gets the heat seeker. Should have been a pin, 1, 2, 3, new champs. Oh no, Matt somehow manages to kick out of that, because he can kick out of anything, including Canadian destroyers. Jericho goes in for the Judas effect, misses. He hits Wardlow, and then the Bucks take the advantage and unfortunately use, I can't believe this is still their finisher, a tombstone that does not look like a tombstone, with a dude jumping off of the ropes and not touching anybody but the tops of his feet for what they call the Meltzer driver. Jericho eats the pin here. The Young Bucks retain. I think it's better for the storyline. I don't know. There was a lot of moves. There was a lot of different pieces. I think the best I could do here is 1.5 stars. I want to like this match. I can't like the Young Bucks. Jericho and MJF brought a little bit of, tag team wrestling, classic heel moves. I think that's what warrants a lot of this. But, hopefully this will set up something better for Jericho and MJF as we look at the Inner Circle and whether that's going to break up or, what's going to happen here. Which, of course, we have a hot match like that. And, granted, the crowd was into it, right? Everybody's excited. And then what do we go into? The Casino Tag Team Royale. What? The what? QT Marshall gets in an argument with Dustin Rhodes. Rhodes took issues with QT about dumping out the Gum Club. And then QT turns on him, slaps him in the face, jumps over. You have Jack Evans doing a run-in. Eliminating Stu Grayson, getting paid off by Matt Hardy. I like Matt Hardy's heel, big money Matt work. That stuff is sort of taking off. You see teams coming in and out. I think Bear Country really shined in this match. You get down to the last 5. It was Pac and Rey Fenix, Kazarian, Silver, and Jungle Boy. They get rid of Kazarian Silver. You have Jungle Boy 2-on-1. He manages to somehow dodge Pac. Pac jumps over. Phoenix ends up scoring the elimination. They get the future tag shot. Ultimately, I think there was a lot of sloppy stretches, but that's not the biggest problem with this match. The biggest problem with this match is that who asked for another Casino Tag Team Royale? Why? Why do we have to have royales? Why can't we just have a tag team eliminator? Have a tag team gauntlet? Do something if you want to give the gimmick. But a royale? And they both have to be eliminated? You've done this. It's not even that exciting anymore. And you don't even include the best tag team you have in the entire freaking company. FTR. Just not even on the pay-per-view. Half a star. It's bad. We move on, though, to the Women's Championship. Now, I'm going to preface this that anybody that knows me going into this, I was purely going to be like, hey, this is bad. This is really bad. It's not going to be good. Don't even bother. If I was somebody else doing ratings, I probably would fast forward it. But I gave it a chance in the honest chance of trying to find every match and whether good or bad and rate them. But this match, easily the best match of the card. They exchanged strikes early in the match. It looked really real. They had a lot of psychology. They had some big high spots. You had knees going back and forth. You have people going in danger. You have lariats coming back. You have elbow strikes. Everything looked believable. The psychology, the wrestling, the maneuvers didn't look crazy. They didn't do jumping over crazy spots, right? Everything looked real. Shida finally hits a bunch of running knee strikes. Somehow Mizunami keeps kicking out. Shida nails her with the jumping spin kick to the face, which almost looked potato-ish, but that looks solid. I think this was a great match overall. You could tell that the two of them had a lot of chemistry. You could tell the two of them really wanted to put on a good show. I think the only part that I would criticize of the actual match going into this is I was not a big fan of Shida going out trying to find a chair so that she could vault off and do the flying knee. I think, if there were more fans there, that would be more exciting. But when you have people who are your wrestlers there in the front row, I think it takes a little bit away. Ultimately, this match would have gotten a higher rating from me if you didn't have Nyla Rose, Britt Baker, and Maki Ito run in and attack Shida until Thunder Rosa runs them off. So you have the Beast, the native Beast. You have Britt Baker, who's arguably your biggest star in the women's division, and Maki Ito. And you have already in the ring 2 women who are tired, exhausted, right? Not even able to fight back. And Thunder Rosa comes down and scares all of them off. With Vicky Guerrero, by the way. She was there too. She's laying in kicks. Just a little bit more, number one. But it took forever to get through them. coming in and doing the run-in after the match was over. It took forever to Thunder Rosa to finally come down and get the save. But, I think if they would have cut out that one piece, this would have been a 4 or 5 star kind of quality match. There was a lot of good technical wrestling, a lot of good psychology, and a lot of good pieces. But, ultimately, I think that ruined the match ultimately in sort of the guise of looking at it as a whole match. I still give it 3 stars, easily the best thing on the show. Hands down, they worked really hard. Next, you have Miro and Kip Sabian versus Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor. Look, I'm going to be super basic with this. I actually like Orange Cassidy. I like Miro. I know a lot of people don't like Orange Cassidy. I know a lot of people think Miro's wasted. I still think Miro is in a terrible, 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 terrible storyline. This whole thing is a giant waste of time. They attacked Cassidy and Taylor backstage before their match. Miro drags down Taylor. They beat the crap out of him. They get a little bit of the baby faces get a little bit of the comeback in Cassidy and Taylor, but ultimately Miro beats them trying to look super strong, and he needed to look strong, but this match was just a giant waste of time. No, I don't think anybody got over in it. I can't even give it a star. It's that bad. 0 stars for this match. Terrible. The next match being the big money match. I was really excited going into this match. I really am digging what Adam Page has been doing. I know that it kind of seemed like he was lost, and I kind of feel for him. And I think that their long-term storytelling with Adam Page has been really solid. Matt Hardy in his heelish, carny, big money Matt, love it. I think it's revitalizing what he's doing, and giving up on the broken gimmick and sort of moving on has just been a smart move. You had a lot of moves coming in early. Page almost got the buckshot lariat nice and early. Hardy's smart, moves out, starts working on Page's ham, try to neutralize the buckshot lariat going forward, gets the twist of fate on the outside of the ring. Page was going to win, look like with the dead eye at some point in the match. Private Party comes down, and then you get a little bit of this, schmaz going on. So you got Private Party coming down, jumping in, getting involved in the match. Then you got the Dark Order running down to make the save, like 5-on-2. Okay, great. Ultimately, I think they could have done a little bit more. You have a little fun spot where, Hangman's going to fall out, gets caught by the Dark Order, goes back in, gives him the buckshot. 1, 2, 3. Hardy takes the pin in the middle of the ring. I hope we move on from this program, but ultimately, overall, judging by what else has been on this card, and I think if the run-in didn't happen, it would have been a better match, but I still give it 2 stars. I think there was a lot of action. I think it puts Adam Page over strong. Matt Hardy still doesn't look weak because he's playing his character well, and he's chicken shit heel, and he's got his posse coming out. I really like it. I really hope that they separate Adam Page from the Dark Order soon, but for now, 2 stars. We'll take it in. Next match is being the Face of the Revolution match. Okay, another match where we have a ladder match, again, on a pay-per-view. It's not called the Casino something, but look, Cody and Penta and Scorpio Sky, I don't even think qualified. Lance Archer and Max Caster did. The other person who didn't qualify was the mystery participant, which was All Ego Ethan Page. I really enjoy Ethan Page now that he's away from that Karate Man gimmick. That was terrible. I think overall it's kind of a match that you expected, where there's a lot of sloppy bumps. There's a lot of pieces moving back and forth. You have an injured Cody that's kind of trying to get through the match and led a lot of pieces, and he had to be checked. And then he comes back to the ring and he uses his belt, right? And you think he's going to win. Thankfully he doesn't, in my opinion. I think Scorpio Sky comes in at the end, showing off really strong. If they're going to give him the jumping off point, it's now or never. I thought they were going to give him one last year and they didn't, but Scorpio Sky comes in and almost taunts Cody and just kind of face washes him off the ladder. But I like it because it signifies for him to kind of move over and give him over as the face of the Revolution. The biggest disappointment in this match is the fact that they were going after a brass ring. Yes, a brass ring on a string. I swear to God, Vince Russo's not at this pay-per-view, but 1.5 stars, I think, for this match. Ultimately, Scorpio Sky wins. He goes over, I think, stronger than it could have been at the end. It was a nice little piece of storytelling at the end, but there's a lot of guys and there's a lot of pieces and there's a lot of movement and not a lot of psychology, right? A lot of moves, a lot of bumps, a lot of, high spots. And, I think I want to see what Scorpio Sky can do with this now. He gets the TNT title opportunity. Hopefully it's going to be against Darby Allin, hopefully soon. And, we'll see how he makes out of it. The next piece, not really a match, so can't really give it stars. Christian Cage signed with AEW. I think it's awesome for him. I think Christian has a lot more that he can still give. I think he definitely has a world title run still in him. But it's kind of a letdown when you say it's like the biggest star. And yes, he is Hall of Fame worthy. There's no doubt. But I thought it was going to be bigger. But Christian's there, so let's see what he does with it. And it was a nice little moment. And they didn't make it too long. They didn't overdo it. I think from an actual in the moment. I think they overdid it before, but I like that he came in, signed it, moved on, went on with the rest of the show. The next match was the street fight between Sting and Darby Allin versus Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. A lot of interference, a lot of shenanigans, right? A lot of theatrics. Ultimately, I think what's interesting about this match is that besides it being pre-taped, is that it looked believable in a lot of places. I think if you didn't pre-tape it, I wasn't sure how much Sting could really give you. I think one of the weirdest spots of the match was somewhere in there where Willie Hobbs comes out in a giant mask. I mean, Willie Hobbs is a giant dude, and he's, the largest dude in Team Taz. Like, he didn't need a mask. It's not like you're debuting someone else. But him and Hook come in and get involved. Darby does the giant leap and shoulder drop onto, I don't know, his crash pad or what it ended up being, but it looked good. It looked kind of believable. So, from that perspective, I think it is what it is. Ultimately, Sting gets the pin, and that's the match. I think in the grand scheme of how these matches could go, it could be a lot worse, but Sting wins and gets what he needs. And, in thinking about cinematic matches, it was on par with what I think the WWE's version of the Boneyard match last year at WrestleMania. So I'm going to give it 2 stars. I think it was one of the better matches on the card. So finally, we work our way here to the AEW World Championship match. The exploding barbed wire death match. Look, I know that most people who know me in real life understand my hatred of Kenny Omega, but ultimately, I just think he's overrated. I don't think he's a terrible wrestler, and I'm saying that here to kind of set the record straight that I can easily go in and look at the match and look at it for what it was. Kenny versus Okada was some of the best matches I've seen. Regardless of the participants and how I feel about them in real life. But this was not those things. This was what I would call garbage death match style. And, at the beginning, it looked like it was going in the right way. I think I'm going to give them a lot of credit for psychology. Psychology of the match was established because they were trying not to fall into the barbed wire and make it explode. I like that play, and it was like pushing each other and running each other into it and Irish whips and hitting and, ultimately trying to get into those pieces. But it was ultimately Omega who got Moxley in there to taste the barbed wire. Omega throws the powder in his eyes and throw him into the ropes. Moxley's busted early, to be expected. You have Omega trying to get him in the Fickley 4. Moxley kicking him back. I think for a long time it was like Omega was trying to work a body part and work him through it, but without necessarily working him into the barbed wire. But he ultimately throws Moxley into the ropes, setting off another explosion. Omega coming off off a Moxley exploder, hit him into a barbed wire chair. I think ultimately they were trying really hard. I enjoyed that, Moxley trying to make his spot known and try to do the paradigm shift from the ring apron into the barbed wire trap. Ultimately, I think he took the worst of that, which is it was showed after that. It looked like he was beaten down pretty bad. Omega hits a one-wing angel. You think it's over. I enjoy that Moxley didn't kick out, so he leaves that move strong from that perspective, that no one kicked out, but he kicked the rope and set the explosion. Really enjoyed that. But, once the Good Brothers came down, and nobody came down during that part to save Moxley. Nobody. Entire locker room, right? No one likes Kenny Omega right now, right? He's supposed to be the heel. You have Callis out there. You have the Good Brothers down there beating the crap out of him and handcuffing him and, going through this whole thing. And, he hits the one-winged angel on the chair. He gets the exploding barbed wire bat knocked into Moxley. I don't know what was going on. It was a lot of stuff going on, right? To say that there was stuff and there was a big beatdown and they wanted to get down to the 30-minute countdown because they couldn't stop the explosion that was going to happen. At the end of the 30 minutes, it was supposed to be a giant explosion if there was no victor. What ended up happening was saying that they couldn't stop the explosion at the end of 30 minutes. So they still went ahead with it. And finally, in the waning 10, 15 seconds, you see a desperate Eddie Kingston roll out to try to save his best friend, that they had a huge feud, running the ring, trying to get him out, trying to figure out something, and then covers him up like, it's going to go off and it's going to be this huge explosion. And then it was a sparklers. I don't know. I think ultimately, that, they've spun it well since then, since now, the tapes come out and we know what's going to happen. Eddie spun it well, Moxley spun it well, but ultimately it's a dud, right? I think this was their first go round, and from what it could have been to what it really was, it was just kind of another garbage street fight, right? And I think that Moxley could have benefited from having a match before he was going to go away. Ultimately, I have to give it 1.5 stars because you have to give a rating on this, but Kenny Omega beats Moxley via pinfall, ultimately in the middle, even though he had outside interference, even though he had the help, even though he had the beatdown afterwards, even though you had the fake explosion, right, and them laughing about it later, ultimately, I don't think this match lived up to much. And, generally speaking, I thought even though there was some ups and downs in this pay-per-view and nothing really completely wowed me other than the Shida Mizunami match. Ultimately, I think we could have gotten more. And I think the people in attendance probably were a little bit upset they had to watch a cinematic match in person. Granted, they had to set up the barbed wire stuff. But, ultimately, I think it was disappointing for what it could have been. It had some highs and lows. And because of the lows at the end, where you end on a sparkler, and there's really no explanation of what happened, and you have Eddie Kingston laying out like he's dead and nothing actually went off, what do you do? What do you do in that moment, and how do you go from here? I think they can rebound. I think there's still a chance, based on how they've explained it since then in the couple of days afterwards. I'm coming to you a week later after the pay-per-view, but ultimately, I think it was a dud. Again, 1.5 stars. Omega's capable of a lot more. Moxley is capable of a lot more in the ring, and I don't think either one of them showed it. Well, with that, that's our first ever ratings. I hope you enjoyed. Please comment, like it, subscribe. Tell me what I can do better. Hopefully, for looking ahead to Fastlane on March 21st, doing a watch-along together with me and the friends. So if you're interested in taking part of that, feel free to send me a DM. Other than that, I am the man of infamy, James Coelho, and I look forward to seeing you soon.